Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Draven. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I haven't uploaded any kind of reaction videos in a very long time, and there's two main reasons for it. One is, like I mentioned in my previous video, I've been working like crazy and just haven't had time to do it, and I do apologize. I want to get reaction videos going out again. I just haven't had time. And two, there is a group called Believe Music that has copy striked every single one of my videos, and they're basically stealing all the ad revenue from those videos. They copyrighted 65 videos. I googled who Believe was because I originally thought it was Sabaton copy striking it, but Believe is a made up copyrights group. It's completely fake. They're not real. There's hundreds of videos calling out Believe Music on YouTube from other YouTube creators who have had copyright strikes from Believe Music. It's getting so bad that my last video update, the one that I did like last week, where I'm just giving you an update of what's going on, they copy strike that one for visuals. Meaning they're trying to say that this visual is theirs, even though this is mine. I created this. I did not use a template. This was all made 100% custom. Nothing about this is used from someone else. So I know they're complete bullshit. It's gotten so bad that I've actually won disputes. I will go to YouTube and be like, hey, these guys aren't real. They're like, okay, yeah, they're not real. Here's your ad revenue back. And then as soon as I get it back, they copy strike me again. Believe Music, same people. It's getting insane. So part of me does not want to release anything to do with music because they're just going to steal the content right away anyways. So I'm kind of waiting for that to die down, but I will get stuff out. In the meantime, I do have a podcast that I did with a buddy of mine, and he's a buddy that lives out in Vegas. We talked about esports, we talked about life, we talked about generalized things. This was about a month. This is about 2-3 months ago. So this is kind of around like when coronavirus was getting kind of big. In the podcast, we mention it, and I believe I personally don't call it as serious as it was, and I do apologize. This is, I think, was back in February or March, where it wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. I mean, it's always been a big deal, but it has not been as gnarly of a big deal as it is now. So I do apologize if some of you guys get mad that I downplay the coronavirus thing. It just didn't know that much about it back in February and March. Otherwise, guys, it is kind of long. I'll do my best to put visuals in it so that way it's less long, but mostly it's all audio. It's actually 100% all audio. Anyways, guys, thank you again so much for that. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I have other kinds of esports stuff coming out, but hopefully I'll get a reaction going for you guys. Thank you guys again. Enjoy. Peace.
Hey everybody, it is Monday, April 6th. It means another podcast is going out. WrestleMania was just last weekend, so I'm actually pretty drained. I'm gonna be honest. So there wasn't a crowd for WrestleMania, and I'm gonna be real here. I don't know if a crowd was needed for that one. I feel like I would be extremely drained if there was a crowd. Don't get me wrong, I actually wish there were a crowd, but I think it was actually a good enough WrestleMania to where it didn't need the crowd, and the performers all worked over, the obstacle of what's going on. So I think I don't know, props to WWE for their WrestleMania this year. Sorry, I'm getting on a tangent, but I mean, anyone who listens to this, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I'm a giant wrestling fan. It might even be in my profile. It used to be in my bio for Twitter. Sometimes it is, sometimes not. I change that thing frequently because I go through moods. Sometimes I'm very determined. Sometimes I just want to be a wrestling fan, really. But yeah, anyway, I should probably get to my guest. My guest this week is going to be Draven. Actually, I say this week. My guest today, this Monday, is going to be Draven. He is the former director of esports operations at Boise State. So he has a lot of experience there, which is actually really cool. This is the first time I've talked to a director of esports operations, I believe. Normally I talk to coaches or managers. They have a lot of insight. Every now and then I'll talk to players. But I like to get the broad sense of what it takes to go into to get into, or to produce a collegiate program, a collegiate production, things of the sort. He has a lot of insight on that. He's also a former community manager with ESL and HyperX. Also worked on a documentary as well. He has a lot of experience in the esports industry. We get into that. We talk about a lot of things, actually. This is a long one, so he had a lot to say, which don't get me wrong, I'm super happy about. So this is a little bit of a long one. I think about an hour and a half, maybe hour 45 after I'm done with my outro and intro. So yeah, let's just go and get to it. I hope you enjoy. How you been, man?
I have been doing very well. How about yourself?
Not bad. The quarantine's not gotten you down or anything?
It's I have mixed opinions on it because I totally get it and I totally appreciate it, but at the same time, like, about 3 years ago out here in Boise, Idaho, we had a really bad snowstorm where we were advised to stay home, and everyone stayed home, and everything was hunky dory, and nothing sold out, and things were great. This is a little different because, like, I just live with my girlfriend, and I have my daughter like every other day, so it's like when I go to the store, I'm not buying for a family. I'm just buying for like a person or like two people. I can't even buy toilet paper, and it's like really starting to piss me off.
Yeah, same. I actually had that issue, and I bought a bidet because I was starting to run out, and I was really afraid I wouldn't get any more. And thankfully, my wife found like a pack of 9 somewhere. I think it was at a Smith's or something around here.
Yeah.
So I'm like good for now, but I mean, toilet paper is one of those things you use every day, so I don't know how long I'll be good. But yeah, I haven't hooked up to a bidet yet, but I need to because I heard that really reduces use of toilet paper. So if I can make it extend as far as possible, then that would be great because people are getting very hoardy with all their things, and I've seen videos of people just being like scumbags about it, like taking boxes upon boxes, and that infuriates me. But I'm trying to avoid it.
What's kind of that's where like that's what pisses me off. Like I totally appreciate people planning ahead, and like in all honesty, like we all should plan for a world event where you have to stay home for a month straight. Like again, ideally you should have that much supplies for 2 to 4 weeks. Like I totally get that, but like Boise is not that populated. Like we have maybe 200,000 people, and so we shouldn't be running out of toilet paper unless people are buying stupid amounts of it. And it's getting to the point where like we're out of frozen foods, we're out of meat, we're out of canned goods, we're out of bottled waters, which I haven't used bottled waters in a couple years now. But it's just when you go to the supermarket, it's like holy crap! Like what is people doing? Like this, it's only a advised quarantine. It's not even an official one, or it's not even a required one. It's just a advised like hey, stay home for the next 10 days. Like we're Boise's trying to prevent it from spreading before it becomes a problem because we only have like maybe like 9 cases total, and it just people just went ape shit with it. And it's like holy crap! Like 3 years ago when we were snowed in, where we literally couldn't leave the house for safety reasons for about 3 weeks. Like it didn't bother anyone. Like everyone was fine. Everyone was copacetic. Like it was cool. No big deal. It was very more neighborly. Now it's just like everyone's like out for themselves. I'm like, man, I was not expecting this. Otherwise, I would have bought toilet paper and the correct provisions when I thought things were going to get bad. But I was like, no, it's Boise. We're not that crazy. And sure enough, I was wrong.
There are humans everywhere, and they all share the same sort of craze. The thing with like snowstorms, because like I used to live in Cincinnati, and I would be stuck in snowstorms every now and then. Snowstorms. It's not quite Boise, but we did get ice quite a bit when we had a river there, and that produced a lot of moisture. And we would be stuck indoors for not a week. We would be stuck indoors for maybe like 4 or 5 days, which is still pretty long.
Right.
Nobody, yeah, you're right. Nobody would get crazy. I could still walk to my grocery store and things would be there. But I think that's because there was an end in sight for weather. Weather has seasons. Weather has melting points. Weather can go by.
Right.
I think people are more afraid that this one doesn't have an end point. I mean, it does. I think that's a blown out of proportion that it doesn't have an end point. But at the same time, you do need to take precautions. But then at that point, you don't need to be overzealous about it. So, and I feel your pain. It's weird. It's hard. I don't understand life sometimes, and this is one of those times.
Right. Yeah, and it's like I have 2 opinions on the entire scenario. Like I get playing it down to prevent panic, but at the same time, playing it down almost makes it seem like you're ignoring it, the severity of it.
Yeah.
So like it's like one of those things where it's like in my mind, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I'm like, dude, like we closed here, at least here in Boise, or not in the entire state of Idaho, but here, since the Boise's the capital of Idaho, the governor resides here, and so does the mayor. So we have both the mayor telling things and then the governor telling things, and sometimes they're not on the same page, and you could tell
that's
that
problematic.
Yeah, and you can tell they're not because they're on both, politically side, and not to get super political, but politically, our mayor is really Democrat, whereas our governor is really Republican, and just the verbiage is different. And it's like, dude, like I don't care. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. Like, just give me some damn toilet paper
Right.
and stop closing so many things down. I totally get why they want to be preemptive, and they don't want to be the state that leaves everything open and then it causes a big problem. So they want to
Yeah.
close everything. So like we have, Boise's known for having, an awesome downtown, very similar to if you lived in Texas, like downtown Austin or downtown Seattle or downtown Los Angeles. Like we have a very awesome downtown district with like 25 different restaurants and 30 different bars and all these cool art shops and like when I say smoke shops, like cigar shops and wine bars. And we have like on a Friday night, like downtown Boise is awesome, especially during the summer.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. And I think all the bars and the restaurants all have patios, so it's when it's like 80 degrees out on a Friday night, like 8 p.m.
Oh yeah, you guys are far enough north where like the middle of June and July actually feels really nice, doesn't it?
Right. Well, yeah. So like from generally speaking, from like April to like June, our highest degree is like maybe 80, 85, and that's
Oh,
at
that's
night.
so nice.
Right. Oh, it's beautiful. And then July and August are like 110, and it's like pretty stupid. But then it's only for a couple months, and then it drops to like 0 degrees for the winter.
Yeah.
So when the mayor is like, "Oh, let's close all the restaurants," and I'm like, "Okay, but that's the reason people go to downtown Boise." So like, even though the retail shops are open, no one's downtown.
Oh, the
So
retail shops are staying open?
well, they closing now because they're
Okay.
they're just losing money.
Yeah.
And so it's like it was one of those where it's like we have 0 confirmed cases in Boise. Like the closest is about 6 hours north in Coeur d'Alene, and it's like, do we really need to close it? Should we have closed it? Did we like jump the gun? But it is one of those things where it's like, if we didn't close it, then if someone got a case in Boise and spread it in Boise, then the mayor would get in trouble for not closing it sooner. So I get it, but like it's a bummer that how important our downtown district really was to Boise, and
Yeah.
how closing it, like they closed hockey, they closed the baseball, they closed the football fields, they closed the gyms, like they closing so much stuff where it's like, all right, I guess we'll just hang out, like don't
Yeah.
have anything to do.
It's one of those things where it's so unprecedented and it hasn't really happened in our history. At least, I mean, we've had war and things like that, but we haven't actually
Right.
had like a pandemic since, I don't know, like I don't know, before. I mean, it was like, when was the last pandemic? I don't even remember when the last pandemic was. I mean, obviously it wasn't when we were alive. I know that. The thing is,
Right.
our generation, I mean, for sure, like the last 2 or 3 generations haven't been through this sort of thing. So they're kind of going by the seat of their pants. And yeah, it's interesting seeing people make decisions because they've never had to make these decisions. And there's not much documentation on these decisions being made on such a global scale, because when the last pandemic happened, like the world was vastly different. So it wasn't.
And-
Yeah, we didn't have wine bars. We didn't have.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and it's a little more. And I forget if I think we're closer to the same age that we actually appreciate this. But like when I was growing up, and this is one of the reasons why I love being out in Idaho versus when I lived in Southern California. Even though I love Southern California and I loved living with like where my parents lived and being in Orange County, I used to be able to like ride my bike down the street to go visit my friend's house and go knock on his door and talk to his parents and go hang out with my buddy or whatever. And then like the older I got in California, it seemed like more and more people like hated when kids would come and like use the sidewalk in front of their house and or get mad if
Oh,
bikes
yeah.
in front of their house.
Yeah.
But in Idaho, like when I first moved out here, because when I moved out here, I got married and I moved when I was married with my wife to live with like near her family's neighborhood. And my sister-in-law would be like, "Oh, Eisen, which is my nephew, like, oh, Eisen is going to go down the street, going to ride bikes down the street to his buddy's house." I'm like, "Oh, do you want me to walk with him?" And she's like, "Why?" I'm like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I'm from California. Like we usually have to. She goes, "No." Like, no, the neighbors will call me if he's in trouble. I'm like,
Yeah,
the neighbors will call you?
yeah, things are. So I've heard a lot about Boise, how it's still kind of really, I won't say old school, but very, like you said, how we grew up back in the '90s when things were just seemed a little safer.
Right.
And now it's, in a lot of cities it's not. I've heard Boise is still kind of like that, still stuck in time, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they still have that sort of mentality where like, yeah, just go ride your bikes down the street, no problem. Go. Oh, your neighbor's handing out candy. I mean, Halloween's not a problem, sort of thing, Or
Oh,
like,
100%. Yeah, and there's certain parts, and like with every city, town, state, there's certain parts where like, yeah, avoid that area because that's known for
yeah,
XYZ reasons. But the city that most of my ex-wife's family lives in is very neighborly, to where like they know five neighbors to the left, six neighbors to the right. They all call each other. They're on a Facebook group together. So my aunt, or not my aunt, my sister-in-law would be like, type in a Facebook group like, "Hey, have you seen my kids?" It's like, "Oh, we saw them at the park 6 blocks away." Like, "All right, can you tell them to come home?" "Yeah, no problem." Like, and like they'll go tell them the kids would come home. Like they all just respect their neighbors in that regard, even they're their ages between 8 and 15. And so it's still cool to see that, because when I was growing up, I remember that. But my sister, who's only 6 years younger than me or 5 years younger than me, didn't have that same upbringing, even though it was only a couple years difference. And that's just, I think people just got too focused on themselves and not so much neighborly. Which is kind of why I was surprised that when all this is going down with Idaho, that I was surprised it went this route, because I was not expecting this, like the extreme shutdown with like the hoarding of stuff with
yeah.
all that. It just was not expecting it, only just because how different it was when like we had the snowstorms, like I mentioned with the snowstorms like 3 years ago, when we got snowed in. The mayor of Nampa, which is a city just outside of Boise, it's about 30 minutes outside of Boise, got snowed in, and the city straight up said, "Hey guys, like we haven't had this much snow in 20 years. We sold all our snow plows 6 years ago. We have nothing to clean the roads with. We have no way of clearing the roads out. We apologize, but we have to cancel all mail services, garbage services, any normal city services. Like we apologize. If there's anything we could do to help, let us know." And so the mayor started going around in his truck and just went to neighbors' house, like, "Hey, do you guys need groceries? Okay, I want to go to the grocery store," and like started picking up groceries for the neighbors. And then I helped him with a couple other buddies like pick up trash for the neighbors who couldn't get the garbage out of their um sub unit, or whatever they're called, the housing complexes and stuff.
Oh yeah. Or the like dumpsters and stuff.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like they just couldn't get it. So me and my buddies just loaded up our trucks with trash and took them to the landfill like an hour away, because the dump trucks couldn't get in because there's so much snow, and they all had lifted trucks, or they had home snow plows or whatever. So I just remember that in my mind, going like, this is what like I remember neighborhoods being like.
I
Like
love that
everyone's
you live in a
snowed
place where you have a home snowplow. By the way, just
Right.
you can attach to your truck.
Well, it's because a lot of out in Nampa, like so Boise's like really city,
Yeah.
and then the further you get out, like the further north you get towards Canada and Washington and Montana, it gets more rural with like farmland. So a lot of people have farms out here. So all of them have like tractors and snow plows and all the farming equipment. So randomly, you'll be on a freeway and you will pass a big old corn plow thing just doing like 50 miles an hour on the freeway. It's just, you drive past, you're like, holy crap. All right.
Jeez. That's I haven't so okay so I haven't lived that far north. So like I said, the furthest I used to live in the mountains in Ozark, Missouri, and that was
Yep.
that was pretty bad. And I actually could get stranded out there, but it was still no problem because everyone had trucks there. Cincinnati, not everyone had trucks, but it would still snow. I lived in a college town of Cincinnati, or like a college suburb. So when it snowed, we pretty much just stayed inside and just called it a day.
Yeah.
But so we didn't really view it as that. Going back to like talking about how serious things are for you, and you can recognize it up in Boise. So I also lived in Mississippi next to my mom, and it was after Katrina down in New Orleans, because I lived in Gulfport, Mississippi, which is 1 hour from New Orleans, and Katrina just destroyed that and ravaged that entire coastline, and that was on the Gulf of Mexico coast. And my mom told me that she knew that things were going to get serious when the Waffle Houses closed down, because apparently the Waffle Houses will be the last one open and the first one, the last one to close and the first one to open during a disaster. And if they don't close, then it's not regarded as a real disaster. They closed during Katrina, and now down there they're starting to close. And my mom told me that. I was like, oh wow, it's serious, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Redneck Hibachi's closing. You know that things are just going to be like things are starting to get locked down whenever a Waffle House starts to move out. And there's actually a map that was released showing all the Waffle Houses that are closing down right now. There's still a lot of them open because, again, they're like super resilient, and I have no problem with Waffle House. They're like some of my favorite 2 a.m. memories when I can barely speak. But like when Waffle House is closing down, I realize, and we don't have that many. I don't even know if we have any over here in Las Vegas. I haven't looked for one because I don't really drink that often anymore, and like I don't.
Yeah,
that
you
means
only find about 208.
Yeah, I would say that's me. Therefore, I have no need for a Waffle House.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they start closing, I know things are getting serious, and there's ones that are starting to close. I'm like, oh no. So yeah.
My girlfriend likes certain Waffle Houses. She used to live in Corpus Christi, Texas, but she's originally from Kentucky.
Oh,
so
me too, bro.
Yeah, what in Kentucky or Texas?
So I was originally from Missouri, but like when I say Cincinnati, I actually lived in northern Kentucky. I lived in Highland Heights, Northern Kentucky University area. That's where I lived at.
Yeah, I've known nothing about like I always thought I knew states and geography really well, but like east of Texas, I'm so bad with it. So she lived in Tulane, Kentucky.
I feel like yeah, Tulane.
I think it's Ti.
Okay, I have no idea where that's at then.
No, I visited a couple months back, but we had to fly into Tennessee and then drive across the border to Kentucky. It was like 45 minutes south of Illinois.
Oh, okay.
I think because we went to Metropolis, Illinois.
Okay, I'm not familiar. Yeah, I haven't been there. So I've been.
Tylene. My girlfriend just texted me because she heard me. Tylene.
That is handy.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been straight down through Kentucky. I don't think I've been to Thailand. I've been straight down through, and I've been over to Indiana, but along Illinois, haven't quite been there. Anyways, go on. I'm sorry. We got off a tangent.
Yeah, I forget where I was going with it, but no. So yeah, she likes Waffle Houses a lot, and so but out here she's like, yeah, there's no good ones out here. But I'm pretty positive there are some in Vegas. There has to be. With how much drinking goes on in Vegas, there has to be Waffle House.
Well, that's the thing is that it's a city that supposedly never sleeps, although right now it's taking a nap. But
yeah,
right. We don't need Waffle Houses. We have like other things. There's like so many other things. Just I think even Heart Attack Grill, which by the way, Heart Attack Burger, Heart Attack Grill, whatever it was called, it's like that novelty place where if you weigh a certain amount, you get free food. It's on the
what?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It was on Fremont, and it stayed open until it was absolutely ordered not to be open anymore. So there's places like that. There's like casinos in Fremont. So we don't. I would assume we have one too. But again, I haven't had a need for it because A, I don't drink, and B, when it's late at night, I just have so many other go-tos now because I mean there's so many things open in Vegas that either rival the amount of weird niche food that is Waffle House or is probably better for me that I should be eating other than Waffle House.
Yeah, and I'm sure being a local to Vegas, you probably know better spots than the touristy ones. Like a tourist to Vegas would hit up the Waffle House, but as a local, you probably know this food's actually better, but no one's going to say this food's better because you don't want the tourists to take it over.
Yeah, there's so many nice places in Vegas that are open 24 hours. I absolutely love the city for that. It's glorious for that. Yeah, so if you don't mind, probably should switch gears a little bit. That we
got on a good tangent though.
We did. I appreciate that. I really enjoy tangents because I have somewhat of an ADD thing, and whenever I get on a tangent, it's easy to branch off into various other subtopics, like just talking about the Tylene, Kentucky. So
yeah, I know when I got there, the funny thing was that being from Southern California, which
that's
Southern
a big
California
culture shock.
Right, yeah. Southern California has 9 million people in Southern California alone. To give you a better example, 9 million people in Southern California. In Idaho, as the entire state, has less than 1 million. Last time I checked.
Yeah.
So going from a 9 million just in the county that I lived in California to an entire state with a ninth of that, a little different. So then when I went from Idaho and visited Kentucky, it's even less than Idaho.
Yeah.
And when we were driving to my girlfriend's parents' house, down like this one lane going in, one lane road coming out, and you're being from Ozark, Missouri, you're probably familiar with that. Just tall ass trees, big ass rocks, and you're just driving, and there's no signs, no nothing. And I'm just like, she's gonna kill me and murder me out here in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm trying to think of like, crap, what'd I do? Like, she's about to murder me.
Yeah.
And then we get to her parents' house, and then her dad or stepdad was telling me about how they have like 50 acres of this farmland, blah blah blah. And the next day, he's like, "Hey, I need to do some work down on the farm. You want to come help?"
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Yeah, I'm like, and he's like loading up one of his, because obviously living out in the woods like that, you need, to protect yourself. So he's got a couple shotguns, and so he's loading up a shotgun. He's like, "You want to come help?" I'm like, "Dude, he's about to go kill me too. Like, I'm about to get buried out here. Like, I'm so not coming."
That's the thing about farmland is that you're sometimes not even protecting against humans. You would in a city. You're protecting against bears, which will.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was more for the bears that potentially might be in the area, or just if a turkey comes on this property, they're allowed to kill it.
Right.
And he's like, or food. You never know.
Yeah, turkeys are huge. Wild turkeys are massive. They provide food for a very long time for anyone who hunts those back in the woodlands back there, like in Kentucky. Man, I never got to hunt as a kid or anything like that, but I did see, like, I've seen plenty of it happening. I've seen people bring in their game, and it is those things feed a lot. They have a ton of meat on them, and you don't think that much with turkey, but they're huge.
Yeah, wild turkeys look like they'll mess up your day.
Yeah.
But I was like, so when we had to take a couple quads out, and I was like, we're just driving like 10 minutes. I'm going like, dude, like, he's going to kill me. Like, I'm 10 minutes away. No cell service, of course.
And real quick, for anyone who doesn't know what a quad is, it's those things that you get on Battle Royale that have no covering. It's just the four-wheelers. Gotcha.
Oh my gosh.
Like Warzone and PUBG, they're all in there.
The pop culture references to modern day things. It's just things that you ride that. So yeah, unrelated to that. So when I just started playing, I don't want to say just started playing, about 3 months ago I started playing Call of Duty with the new one.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. I don't really play first person shooters that much. It's more just kind of relaxes me because I'm not good at it. So I just kind of go and play around with like random things, or just sit in the corner and just be a sniping, camping butthole and be that guy. But
one of those guys.
Yeah, but when they had the quads on one of the bigger maps, and the fact that you could shoot off a quad, I'm like, this is actually could be really fun if you did like 2v2 teams, quads only, and just try to do trick shots off of quads. I'm like, this
that would be so fun.
I think that'd be a lot of fun just because there's so much you could do with it.
That'd be like Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal, dude. Like, they need to remake Twisted Metal.
Yo, they did for a second. They made, like, when PS3 launched, they did. I never got to play it, but I think it'd be a really fun esport nowadays.
Oh, for sure. Twisted Metal, because with, this is kind of segueing into our topic, but like with Rocket League, I love Rocket League because it reminds me of Twisted Metal, but without like the super guns.
Yeah.
But I still think in Rocket League, outside of just having the boosts and being able to explode your opponent's cars, I think certain cars should have hooks or have nets or have something that will just change up the game just a little bit. Like have a hook to where if you're going after the ball, you could hook it and bring it back to you so your opponent misses maybe. Or you could dribble it a little differently, or a net where you could throw it and either catch the ball or slows your opponent down outside of the boost and outside of being able to explode your opponent. I just think having little tricks like that, I think will change the game 100%. I know they have modes and different mods that you could have that, but just competitively, I would love to start seeing a little more, skill. I mean, I know it's a skill-based game, so I shouldn't say skills, but like a more skill,
more disruptive skills.
Yeah, just a little more, because you have to be able to dribble, which is in and of itself is really hard.
But I can't do it worth a shit.
Well, neither can I. But like, just sometimes I'm like, man, it'd be so sick. Like right now, like the guy's about to make a really good shot. Can you imagine if you just had a net or a hook? You just pull it out from your opponent. Like that'd be like really like game changing.
I really think those sort of games should come back, like the destructive vehicle demolition derby kinds. That would be so fun. And what you're talking about exactly, like, I mean, even just something as simple as that, like just having a hook or a net. Yeah, I think I think that would be super fun. I do find Rocket League extraordinarily fun as it is, right, in the format it is in right now. But yeah, there's a callback to these destructive like vehicles type games that I feel like would really thrive nowadays, and I think they were really fun back in the day, but I think they might have been a little bit too before their time, because now you don't see any of them anymore. Now, the closest one we have is Rocket League, and I mean, yeah, it's super fun, but it's rocket cars with playing soccer. When really,
Right.
I mean,
And
why
that's
is there not a machine gun on it?
right. And that's when I worked for Boise State, and 99% of the time, like I would almost say 100%, but there's always that one parent that gets it. But like 99% of the parents always like want to know like what esports is or how does
Yeah.
what the game is. And I always use Rocket League because A, it's the easiest to understand, and B, it's the one where no one dies technically. Like League of Legends, you technically don't die because you get someone back. Overwatch, you technically die, but you respawn. So it's like anytime I just talk about esports or introducing parents to esports, I always bring up Rocket League or some clips of Rocket League. And I'm like, basically it's soccer, but with cars instead of players. And so it's the easiest to explain. So I think, it's the easiest esports to watch and pick up and understand. Not so much to play, but like as someone who doesn't understand esports, they understand Rocket League because they understand the base objective, which is just to score. And everyone knows, the traditional sports. Like, oh, okay, I just need to score. That's how we win, scoring. And that's it. Obviously, there's more technical to Rocket League, but as
Yeah,
a
they don't need to know
newcomer
that.
and a newcomer coming in, they just see it. But like, man, it's like Twisted Metal. I miss. Um, there's a couple other games I could swear I like. Grand Theft Auto was always fun. To me, it got extreme, but that's just maybe just kind of got older, and the more extreme it got, the more or less I got into it. But like the Vice City, I still think is my favorite Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
Only just
so
because
good.
the story behind it made sense. Like following that storyline, following that quest line, everything made sense. Like building your empire, all that made sense to
Yeah, it
me.
was Scarface essentially.
Well, and yeah, it was basically Scarface. I'm like, this is cool. You can you play the movie. It ends the same way. Spoiler. And well, if you haven't seen Scarface at this point, I don't know what you're doing with your life. That movie's been out for
uh,
40 years. Like
yeah, it's been a while. It's 220 now or 2020 now. So yeah, it's been.
like when did it come out?
I think it was 87, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was 87.
Scarface, 83.
83. Wow. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so almost 23, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, that movie's freaking held up.
It still has a lot of relevant. I guess like it really helped form a lot of the really cool mafia stories from like not just like I mean obviously Godfather helped a lot too.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
but Godfather was more like you're branded in and you already have a surrounding, while Scarface was you're absolutely trash and you have to make gold out of it. I love that. And yeah, Vice City was like one of my favorite, still is my favorite GTA. I do like San Andreas a lot because it has the 90s hip hop scene in like 90 it talks about the 90s gang warfare and things like that and the riots back in the LA, which growing up in the east side of the United States, I always found all that sort of thing fascinating because like none of that sort of thing was like present over there. So
Right.
I gravitated a lot to San Andreas, and I also I like a lot of '90s hip hop, and a lot like that game features a lot of '90s hip hop. It also features a lot of '90s rock, which I absolutely love too.
Right.
So like San Andreas, I liked, and I didn't start respecting the music of which I. It's weird. It's weird that music actually defines a Grand Theft Auto because they're all based in eras, but their music is really important to me because you like drive around, you listen to the radio, and you create memories. Because I Ran is the reason why I started listening to A Flock of Seagulls' I Ran and getting into 70s and 80s music is because of GTA Vice City. So I will always
Right.
associate that song with the pastel pinks and purples that was the color scheme of the nightlife of GTA Vice City. And if you haven't
Right.
actually, if anyone listening hasn't played it, it's like the way games can instill a memory like that is absolutely amazing to me. And it actually, like I said, it branched me into a whole genre of music I had no idea about, which I love Vice City for. And like I said, it was essentially a Scarface story, except you get to play it. And fun fact, Scarface actually had a game come out later on, whenever like all these mafia games started coming out, because Vice City did it so well. It wasn't even near as good as Vice City. So if you want to go play a Scarface-esque game, go play some GTA Vice City. I think it's on Steam. If not, it's really easy to acquire right now, and it's like probably like $9.99. It's not
Yeah,
that expensive.
I know for sure it's on Steam and they reformatted it so it could run on Windows 10. You just have to have it on like 16-bit with like a smaller window. You can't full screen it, but I mean, still, it's so freaking awesome.
It's
But
so
yeah, even
fun.
like the music with that game is pretty spot on. And I want to say, and I could be mistaken, I might be misspeaking, but like with Vice City, like they had the parody, like the rock radio station where the guy who was the rock DJ who got like fake collars. And this is all within the game. Like the fake callers were calling. He goes, "You're not even metal. You don't."
Yeah.
Yeah, like he goes, "I know who Eddie is. He's the cousin or something crap." Like he would make up these random bullshit excuse. Oh my god, it was so great. And it's like the parody radio station. And I want to say they were mimicking Howard Stern, but like the parody of that radio station was so good in and of itself. Like the radio stations were good outside of the game itself. And like you're mentioning with the music, like this had the spot on music. Like we're gonna play some heavy metal, and then they play like 80s glam rock, and I'm like, it's not heavy metal, but it's still good. It's still good music. It was so great.
Yeah, actually, GTA 5. So the satire radios are one of the main reasons why I play and still really enjoy Grand Theft Auto series, because number 5 and number 4 were really like, because I've grown up through those times. Like obviously, I grew up through the '90s, but I didn't learn about all of the history of the '90s until I grew up and started reading about it. Even though I grew up through it, I was very oblivious to it all. I remember the OJ trial, but I had no idea the gravity of all that. I didn't really understand the context and the effects and the ramifications it had on our society. And obviously I didn't grow up through the 70s. I wasn't even born. I don't know much about 70s life from Vice City, but number 4 and number 5, I grew up, and they took place in the modern world in which they were made. So like the 2000s, late 2000s, 2010s, and then on to mid 2010s. I grew up through those, so all of the references that they made in the satirical radios, I fully understood. And sometimes, especially Grand Theft Auto 5, I will still go in and just ride around and cause chaos, but the main reason is because I want to listen to some satirical radio. And I actually had a Twitch show that I wanted, or like a Twitch thing I wanted to do one time, where I would just like play video games, but also just I wouldn't have satirical radio. I would actually have like documentaries on just some of the weirdest shit and try to hawk it as real, because I don't know, because I think varieties of trolling is funny. Even though sometimes it's not, but if I want to put on a flat Earth thing and try to convince someone that flat Earth is real,
oh my god,
that's so fun to me.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
Because I've studied a lot of flat Earth, because so one of the things when I first heard about it, and I've also done this with the lizard people theory too. When I first heard about it, I automatically went, well, that's stupid. But at the same time, I want to learn about it, because there's established science and what they think is facts behind everything. And that sort of thing fascinates me, to the point where you believe something so hard that you make it real to yourself. And they do that with flat Earth. They have a whole science that, if you actually read it, it debunks itself. But that's them's the breaks. And I found it all very fascinating. I've listened to so many podcasts on flat Earth, and it's just a fascinating culture that I don't I try to understand, and I want to I like to play characters that are like satirical radio, where I want to see how big of a following I get, because I've noticed that nowadays you can be absolutely batshit crazy and get a following because someone out there is going to believe you, and if one person does, then that probably means there's at least 10,000 people that do, because just based on there's 7 billion people in the world, something like that. That's just statistics, and at that point, I mean, at 10,000 people, yelling into the ether about whatever it is weird shit you are hawking, then that creates such a weird culture, like subculture of humanity, that I thought would be really fun to play off of. But that takes a lot of work, and I never have. But it's all in my head that I want to, and one of these days I actually might. But I'm sorry, I went off another tangent. I do go around Grand Theft Auto 5 and just listen to the satirical radio, because it's so entertaining to me.
Yeah, and so on that topic, it actually reminded me of two things. But one, I don't know if the guy's still on the radio anymore. He was pretty popular in the 90s, at least in California. So he had this late night radio show, I forget his name, where he would be like a late night radio host, and he would have people call in to bring up topics that are not considered popular, like what's something you believe in that not everyone does. And so then he would throw his voice to make it seem like someone called in, but it's really him. And so then he would basically bring up these outlandish topics to himself, and then have his listeners call in to argue with the fake guest.
That's
even
awesome.
The host the whole time. And so I remember I would listen to it with my dad when him and I would drive to Nevada or to Southern or San Diego area to go motorcycle riding, and so we would just go at night. to get there in the morning. And some of them was like a guy. The guest that called in was a guy who was suing AT&T because in the directions of getting a new cell phone for AT&T, nowhere does it describe that you have to give out your cell phone number to people for them to call you. And so then he was saying that because AT&T never had a description or a how to use guide to give out your cell phone, that the cell phone that he got for his son made his son depressed, which resulted in his son being gay. And so he's
Oh my God.
AT&T for causing his son to be gay. And then people would call in like, "Are you?"
I was about to say, this is the radio DJ saying this as another person.
Yes, the radio DJ has this guest on about this topic, even though it's the radio DJ throwing his voice to sound different. And so then people were calling in to yell at the fake guest, but they had no idea it was a fake guest. They had no idea the radio DJ was just pulling BS out of his ass. And it was so funny. The amount of people that got so mad about these, and the topics were so outlandish. Like,
yeah,
you can't believe this. I don't know how people thought this was real. Like another one was, he threw his voice to be a female, and the female was quote calling in, upset that the Girl Scouts were selling cookies outside of supermarkets because the quote guest, the fake guest, was who couldn't have kids. So anytime she saw Girl Scout cookies or Girl Scout stands, it made her depressed that she couldn't have kids, and she didn't think it was right that the Girl Scouts were able to do it, and they should be sensitive to the fact that she can't have kids. And it caused these huge arguments, and the host is trying to throw his voice and then tries to be the mitigator, be like, "Okay, let's calm down, down."
That sounds so hard.
Like, oh, it was so good because people just did not realize it was a fake guest with this a fake, non-real. Oh, it's so good.
Oh my gosh,
it was so good.
I've actually thought about doing that with broadcasting because I used to commentate on League of Legends, right?
Right.
Okay, so I've taken a step back from that, but I have my own projects. One of them I mentioned on a podcast before with Corvus Crow called Bluntcast, where I want to get high while casting because it's legal in Nevada. Anyways, outside of that, I've also wanted to impersonate my co-caster and just have on a different voice. And I have a whole persona for them and everything. I'm not going to spoil it here.
Right.
But I have a whole...
That sounds amazing.
I have a whole persona for them that would completely clash with my normal persona, the one you're hearing now. And it would just cause a lot of banter and a lot of disruption during a broadcast. And I wanted to try to market that as if it was a real person on the other end of that voice, and
you're duo casting with yourself.
Yeah, because you can, because obviously I know how to alter my voice a little bit. With myself, my actual physical self, and I have Audacity because I've practiced altering my voice in Audacity. It's a program to alter sounds and things like that, and you can alter your voice in that program, that app. And I've thought about doing that. And just putting it up because I can splice together things, I can create conversations, because there's nothing more fun than creating an illusion that it's just all you and you just completely absorb yourself into it and let people believe it and comment on it, like that radio DJ. I envy that guy for coming up with that because that is so funny.
Yeah, I wish I could still find it. I would have to text my dad and ask him if he still remembers it, because I don't know if he's still around anymore, because at the end of his show, he would say that it was fake guests and no one was real and stuff like that. So that way the people called in didn't get super mad, because people will call in and say like, people will call in like super mad.
Yeah.
But that's a glorious idea. Almost have like the serious caster versus the guy that just calls like the wrong plays. You're like, wait, what?
No, it's not even that. I know. So I wanted him to be professional as far as like when to time everything, but just be rude as hell. Just be a total ass and make really gross comments about various things like happening on the Rift. Like, I actually wanted his casting to be good. I wanted it to be a dichotomy where people actually liked hearing him for his actual play-by-play, but or analysis. But then when he like goes a little too far, which he always will, just might gross somebody out, or might make someone very uncomfortable.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
I'll get onto it someday. I have a lot of time in my hands right now, so
yeah, we can all do.
I'm doing the podcast to fill it up, so I don't shit post too much or cause more of a dumpster fire in the world.
Right.
So we haven't even gotten to your time at Boise. I mean, you mentioned it, but you were the director of operations and community manager there.
Yeah, so for when I was at Boise State University, I originally started as like the JV coach for League of Legends, and I was there as a contractor or an advisor, and just help scheduling the tournaments and the games and stuff like that. Because there's 65 kids in the program, in the esports varsity program at Boise State, so it's just kind of a lot for one person to manage all their schedules and facing off against other schools' schedules, etc. But then eventually, this role popped up. A director of operations for the esports program popped up that I was able to apply for and interview for, and eventually get the job for. And that one was handling the esports lab, also known as a battleground or a LAN center or the computer center or whatever verbiage you guys, whoever uses whatever school. But basically, I think we had 24 computers, all had games on it, OBS, Twitch, all that stuff on it, so the kids could watch their games, review their games, go over certain plays. We did it for League of Legends, Overwatch, Rocket League, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, Rainbow Six, Counter Strike, and StarCraft 2.
Sounds about like everything.
Yeah, like all the major games. Like we had our official varsity team, and then we had our club team. And our official varsity team played games that were only teen rated, and that was for multiple of reasons. Mainly is when we're introducing esports to faculty members, to the state board, to the educational board, to other schools, to parents. Last conversation we ever want to have is about video games and violence, which comes up so often that I would be a millionaire if I got $1 for every time someone said that to me. And it's one of those conversations where like I'm not going to change your mind because you don't want to listen, and I get that, and I appreciate parents who want to protect their kids, but at the same time, if they're not going to listen, or if they have their own opinion regardless of what I say, then the conversation's done, and there's no point in arguing it because you're not going to listen or you're not going to hear what you need to hear. So we never want that conversation to ever be brought up or that topic. So like I mentioned earlier, when I introduce parents to esports or parents who have kids in high school, and I would go around different high schools giving esports talks about how kids can make a career out of esports, whether playing the game or being on the back end, whether being production, a community manager, a director, a team manager, whatever. You don't have to be ridiculously good at video games to be in the esports industry. I'm like, there's so many people in the esports industry that play the game casually, but but don't play it to be the best. And I mean, you've interviewed a few people already. Like, there's just so many people in the industry that you don't have to be good.
Yeah.
And so when I would talk with parents at high schools, I would bring up Rocket League and Hearthstone, like the two games I would bring up first, and then slowly introduce them to the league. But honestly, I would never mention Overwatch because it's technically a shooting game. And I know that if we go down the shooting game route, violence in shooting games may be brought up, even though Overwatch is an animated, no blood. When you die, you don't even look like you die. It's a respawn kind of thing. Like, there's nothing really violent about Overwatch, but it's still technically a shooting game. League, you could say it's an arcade style type game where you just play a character that has all these cool abilities.
Yeah.
Overwatch, technically the same thing, but
more pew pew in Overwatch.
Right, so that was kind of part of my job, just trying to change the culture, especially at Boise State. Just because even though we had the full support of the school, not everyone in the school supported it. So like we had the full support of the president of the university and then the alumni and the higher ups. However, just because we have the support from them, the science department may think it's a big waste of time and money, and they will have their opinions about it. So it was always really upsetting when I would come across a professor and they would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm the director of operations for esports." It's like, video games? I can't believe the school would have a video game team.
Everyone always wants to have their opinion in there too. Yeah. Whenever they say that, it's like, we didn't ask for your opinion, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, well, I'm like, yeah. And so depending on their verbiage, like I had some professors be that blunt. So I'm like, yeah. And I just kind of walk away or kind of end the conversation or just politely leave. But then some like, oh, like, how's that going? I'm like, okay, cool. They're interested in a sense. They may not be like, they don't want to support it, but they're curious. And I always tell them, like, what? Like, it would be best if you want to come down to one of our live events, come down and, answer any questions you have. And they would come down and see our 5,000 square foot esports arena and I see our giant stage and our students playing on the stage and our casters in our production room. And they're like, oh my God, like there's a lot more to it than just kids playing video games. I'm like, yeah, like I'm like, we have a huge opportunity for students to get involved in on the production side, on the casting side, on the marketing side, on the team management side. Like there's so much opportunity to where we get students who volunteer to come down. And then our goal, or at least one of the goals, because we had many, one of the goals was get a kid or a student to participate on the esports team for the 4 years who'll be at BSU, and then have experience in esports. So when he graduates, who'll have a degree in whatever degree field he or she chose, and then have like 200 to like 500 hours of gaming experience, whether playing on the team, being a part of the team, being broadcasters, being production, a director, whatever. So that when they graduate, they have the degree plus experience, which is really hard to do now, as you may know.
Yeah.
Like when you go for jobs, they're like, oh, okay, we want 10 years experience plus a degree. It's like, well, at my age, I was able to do one or the other. Like either I went to school with no experience, or I skipped the schooling and got only experience like I did. Like I never went to college, so I have just straight experience. I have zero education. So in my 30s now, it's like a problem that I don't have schooling. It's like, well, I got experience. I have 10 years experience and whatever. So that is another argument point, or another thing that we like to bring up with parents, is like, this is why you want your kids to go BSU. They're going to get experience, plus they're going to play video games, which they'll do anyways, with or without us. They're going to play video games in the dorms. They're going to get experience, play video games, and get a degree. So when they're 22, 23 graduating, they're going to be more set for life than they would if they never played esports, or they never played video games, or if they skipped college. So this is a double win for literally everyone.
Yeah, and Boise has the unique, I guess the unique feature of having both a relatively prominent esports team, and also a relatively I think a pretty prominent collegiate football team too. Is right. I know you guys have a very famous football field.
Our blue.
Yeah, the bluegrass. Yeah, which
is a fun fact. Our varsity kids, or the Boise State's varsity kids, the stage that they play on, we lined with blue turf. So our varsity kids play on blue turf. And so anytime we get a faculty member that is obsessed with our football team, because at Boise State you have to be a football fan, and you have to be a Boise State football fan. And I just lied, and I told them I was, even though
You're from California. Yeah.
Like I did. So we told them about the blue turf, and like that's what sold so many people. That it's like, oh, that's awesome.
So, go on.
Well, what I was going to say was that originally, when I first started, our football team wasn't that good. We lost a couple seniors. We didn't quite rebuild that season, and so we follow our football team schedule. So if our football team plays against Tennessee State, if that's a school, I don't know if it is, but Tennessee University, whatever, if they play them in football, we will reach out to that school prior, figure out if they have an esports team, and then play them in whatever game that they have. So if they have a League of Legends team, we'll play them in League of Legends. So what we used to do, and then broadcast it and make it some hype thing, like Boise State versus Tennessee, like watch League of Legends before football kind of thing. And so we used to be able to say, like, our football team lost to Tennessee, but our esports team won. Ha ha ha. But then this past season, our football team went like 11-1. Like they just destroyed everyone. And then our esports team, we lost a couple seniors, so then our esports team wasn't as strong. So we were losing to the schools that we beat the previous year, whereas our football team was beating the schools that they lost to the previous year. So then they kind of had the flip flop of the football team, being more clout than our esports team in terms of wins and losses. But it was a lot of fun having that online banter with our football team.
So, with you being, so you said you didn't go to college, which I dropped out of college 3 times. I actually haven't graduated, and I just got right into esports and did all that. With you being not going to college, going to a university, and becoming, a director of operations and the community manager, how did you fall into that, and how did you convince the schools, like, hey, I got what it takes, let me do this?
So it took a lot of, I don't even want to call it persuasion. When they announced the role and I got my first interview, I had to make sure that I explained that I understood the role that they wanted, plus adding to my experience. And I come from being California, so where I was a community manager and a broadcast producer when I worked for ESL, which is that international video
Yeah.
production crew.
Yeah.
They're based in Los Angeles, but their headquarters in Europe. And so I was there for about 2.5 years. I worked as a contractor for Blizzard. I worked at HyperX for a while as well, just doing an influencer manager, and stuff like that. And not to mention, I helped with Caleb, which I think you know Caleb from SoCal Esports. We
Yeah.
just I don't it's just how to explain it, like with my past roles, like just because I didn't have the educational side, I had the experience of starting something from grassroots and expanding it, starting some I started in a role that of already a concrete company like ESL, growing that, or HyperX, where this was really unique, where we're just sponsoring online video gamers. So I had to look out for what works in online gaming, what works for Twitch streamers, the personalities, YouTubers, etc. So I try to show them that, like, I have so much experience, this well-rounded experience, that this will make me a perfect candidate for this role, in terms of being able to talk to students, being able to understand video games, understanding talking to parents, and then dealing with I call it corporate America, but dealing with the faculty and the alumni and the donors of a university who are just want to make sure that their school doesn't get tarnished with anything bad. So
Right.
and that's where I explained when I worked for HyperX, like, we had stakeholders that we had to talk to all the time, that me being a huge video game nerd, I just can't talk about video games to these guys. These guys understand the business. I don't want to call it money, but like, they understand business and profits and losses. So that's what the university sees. And they just don't necessarily care how they get profits, and they just want to make sure they keep that rolling. So I can't just be like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about video games to these guys. No, they're not going to care. So you just being able to spin it to where they understood and where it made sense to them, was kind. Thankfully, out in Boise, there's not that many people that have esports experience, and they weren't going to pay anyone to relocate. So I think I lucked out. I mean, to be honest, if they had the resources to relocate someone up, I'm sure they could have found someone to relocate. But I was local. I was already a part of the team, in the sense of doing the coaching for the team, and so a lot of people knew me. A lot of the team knew me just from past experiences, from meeting them at DreamHack or PAX, or just for my time at ESL. So it was, thankfully, everything came together, and it worked out relatively well. It was fun.
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, obviously, there's been progress made at Boise over the last few years. So, yeah, regardless if they could have brought someone in, they had the right person there. So that's good. So you're not there anymore now, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So with everything that's going on, and it's not super public knowledge, but it's okay for me to talk about, is that with the obviously the pandemic that's going on in the United States, they laid off all non-essential workers, so basically non-professors.
Oh, so this is recent.
Correct. Yeah.
Ooh.
So with they moved all professors to online courses. Boise State is now online classes only for this semester. And when you work for a university, at least in Idaho, when you work for a university, you're considered a state contractor, and your contract goes from July 1st through June 30th or June 31st, or whatever the last day of June is.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
And so they put me on what they call administrative leave, where they're like, hey, like, you can't come to class, you can't come to school, school's shut down, you can do stuff from home. And how it's looking, the direction wise, I'm going off the assumption that they won't renew my contract, only because they're going to have to recover for the last 4 months of the school being closed and all that they probably will drop any non-professors. Like, they're just, because the professors is what teach the classes. I didn't teach a class. I had nothing to do with students in terms of grades. Like, so I just helped run a department, and esports is not the department that they care about at the moment. They want to make sure the kids graduate and get the classes online. So they dropped a lot of employees, a lot of what we call a staff, which I was staff, faculties, teachers, I was staff. So like, they dropped any staff contractor and just put them on administrative leave, because I there's nothing I could do for the classes. Like I can't teach classes. I can't do any of that because I'm not
Right.
licensed to.
No, I got you.
We can't esports stuff we could do for like hosting online, but majority, like 90% of my job has to be hands on. And if we don't have the lab open or the arena open, and we're not doing scrimmages against other schools, there's really not much I could do. Like I don't have to worry about inventory because everything's locked in the closet now. Like
Right.
I just like it was unfortunate. So the yeah, I was just one of the many people affected by uh Boise as a city closing down and the school closing down and moving to online only. So I'm technically still there on administrative leave. Um, I'll probably find out. I have 30 days, so they'll give me a 30-day notice if they don't renew my contract. So I'll find out in June if I'm going to get renewed for another year. But I am going to go on the assumption that I will not get renewed, only just because they're going to reprioritize their budgets and stuff, and they probably are going to take a massive hit with students not signing up for fall classes
Right.
and just all that. I can only imagine the backlash that the schools are going to have to deal with, which is nothing that not Boise State's fault. It's not no one's fault, obviously. But I'm just very curious how the after effect of everything will be for schools.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, that's a really tough break. Are they still? If you don't obviously you don't have to answer any of these questions if I ask, but I am curious. Are they still paying you for the tenure of your contract?
Yep.
Okay, that's a positive. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Which I was laughed. I'm like, when they told me to go for budgetary reasons, you have to put you on administrative leave, but we're still going to pay you. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want me to do work from home? They're like, no. Are you sure? They're like, yeah.
That's interesting.
Bold. Fine. Cool. I'm just going to stay home and stream. And so the worser part, I was like, all right, I'm just going to find some part-time gig as I wait, stream as often as I can, and then find a part-time gig, maybe work at a restaurant so I get free food, or work at a movie theater because I get free movie. When you work at a movie theater, you get free movies. And when I was in high school, I worked at a movie theater, and I freaking loved working at a movie theater. It was like one of my favorite jobs because it was free movies, cheap dates, and you always got to watch movies when they came in. And this is back because now everything's on discs.
Right.
At movie theaters. When I worked in the movie theater, we still
the
had
reels?
hand reel.
Yeah,
we had a hand reel everything. So like when Star Wars Episode 1 came out, when the Harry Potter movies came out, the Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire came out, we had to hand reel everything, and we had to make sure the soundtrack is on the reel, and then we had to play it and then we had to watch it to make sure the sound matched the dialogue. And so we and all my buddies that worked there had to watch movies, twist my arm, had to watch movies before we did a midnight premiere.
Yeah.
So me and my buddies would watch, like we watched Spider-Man 1 and Phantom Menace 1, 2, and 3, and Spider-Man 2. I'm trying to think of the other movies that were. Anyways, we had to watch them like the Wednesday night, made sure the reel was good, sound was good, and then we had the premiere Thursday night. So I freaking like the movie 300. So like I freaking loved having, now it wouldn't matter, but then, with the city closing everything, like they closed, the restaurants that I was going to work at, they closed the movie theaters. I started working for an event center out here, just running their concerts, and there are different concerts they had or different live shows that they had. Because my experience in broadcasting, it was easy hire, but then they closed that.
Yeah, events.
Okay, like this is this is okay. This is ruining my plan of
Oh my gosh.
double income, like having a I don't want to call it like a meaningless job, but just having a job where I just work temporary. But it is what it is, and everyone, this will recover and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm bummed, but I'm hoping that with the year experience as a director of operations, I want to actually find a role. Like my next dream job is A, working for Blizzard, which may or may not ever happen, but B, working for a team. I think it'd be really fun to work for like a professional esports team. So that'd be a lot of fun if that ever transpires.
We have quite the credentials, man. That sounds awesome. I obviously best of luck to you on that one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, there's so many people with great experience out there that it's one of those where like I'm not a throw my name out there like in your face kind of guy.
I am not either whatsoever.
Yeah, and I was looking at your Twitter post earlier, and I was like, I feel you, because I'm such the same way. Like I can't for the life of me be the guy that like. I can't do it. It's one of the good bads about I used to do StarCraft 2 casting, and that's how I got partnered on Twitch. Was doing StarCraft 2 events online and casting for it. And then like now it's like when I see kids who started casting after me, who have like half the following I do, that's not even partnered on Twitch, that barely knows what they're doing. I say it nicely as humanly possible, but just has been doing it for a couple months, getting invited to cast DreamHack. And I'm saying going like,
Yeah.
I have like 5 years experience. Like, what was this guy doing? And then I look at his Twitter, and it's nothing but tagging DreamHack and nothing but tagging all these people. I'm like, I can't. Like, I refuse to do that.
Yeah, there's a form. There's like a art of networking that I don't abide by, and I have no problem with people that do. By the way, for anyone listening, like tag your things. Like obviously, you know, like I retweet people who's looking for a job on Twitter because it's nice. But
that's different. Yeah, that one's way different. Like, people who are looking for jobs right now, I'll retweet. I'll freaking write a letter of recommendation.
I'm about to. That was my tweet. What was alluding to is like I have close friends that I will talk to about hey, is anyone hiring, or they'll send me a job or something, or give me a reference. I don't think I've ever actually tweeted, hey, I just got laid off, here are my credentials, retweets appreciated. I've never done that, and I'm about to, because I don't know how long this lockdown is going to go on. If it goes longer than 30 days, then I'm not going to be able to pay my rent, that's for sure.
Right.
But I got this month going, and I think I might got next month. But other than that, like I gotta start making money somehow. I gotta get a different job if I'm not gonna have. I mean, like I'm technically on furlough.
Right.
I have unemployment filed. This is the first time I filed for unemployment since before I was married, which is like almost looks like 9 years almost.
Wow,
and so I'm just trying to prepare for everything, and I'm at the point where like maybe I should ask for help. I mean, like I got such a big response on the podcast thing. Maybe people will actually help me out here. So
you should because your network of people will have something. And my I mean, a lot of recommendations, but like Hitmarker Jobs. I don't know if you're following them.
That's the only place I'm in scouring right now. Is that
nice? They have a job posting for Vegas.
There's Dark Zero. So there's a few of them. I posted. I actually applied for the one for MZ. I think it's Machine Zone. Yesterday, I applied for that because I didn't know they were here. They're based elsewhere, but they have another. I guess they just opened a branch here. I actually applied for that one yesterday. So thank you for mentioning that. But there's also Dark Zero. The esports team. For content production. And man, I have such imposter syndrome with content production because I've done content work before. In fact, one of the ways I got my last job in partnership marketing for Plays TV, like my yearly contract, my 1 year contract a couple years ago, was because I made a video using some of their program, using their program to help me do it. And it got to the second page of Reddit. Like I have such bad. It was a Fiddlesticks guide, by the way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but I have such bad imposter syndrome with like my content creation because I never feel like it's good enough because I don't really like. I feel like I can do well enough at it, but I'm just like so intimidated. Like, well, what if I can't? What if I suck at it? What if I suck at campaigning? What if I suck at all that stuff? And like, I don't have that problem with partnerships, strategic partnership marketing, or social media management or anything like that. But specifically, getting all the assets, putting them together in a way that will be compelling and tell a story and also get the message across that we want. I have such bad anxiety about that, even though I could probably do it. I'm just like, I just haven't. So that was, I don't know. I feel like I'm going on a tangent with that, but that was the other one I saw in Las Vegas. There's other ones that are from Skills, which bless their heart, I'm really glad that they actually get back to me, but they reject me in like a day, and I don't know why.
Right. I usually get rejected at Blizzard within like 10 minutes. And so part of me thinks there's something in my resume or someone in HR that I pissed off at one point in life.
Yeah, I've burned a lot of bridges, so I'm actually wondering that.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that. But I don't call it the sad part, but the thing where it's just about how I'm terrible at describing like my past experience and stuff that I made. Like I worked on an esports documentary when I was at ESL. And that was on Netflix, and now it's on Amazon and iTunes and stuff like that.
The one on Netflix. Okay, I've seen the one on Netflix.
The All Work All Play.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's you.
I worked on that.
You worked on it.
Yeah, so I was one of the producers on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like how do I leverage this without really putting my name on something that where as a producer, literally all I did was what I did specifically was that when they filmed it at San Jose, IEM 2014 San Jose, I literally held the back of the shirt of the cameraman as he panned backwards, and I walked him backward and cleared his path. That was my role. Like I was just a handler.
That's all you
But
did? Like you didn't help with like getting the location or anything like that?
no,
I'm genuinely curious about all this.
well, good because the location was already set because ESL was the one that did it. ESL at the time ran IAM, so they still technically do, but like so ESL was already there filming because they were filming IAMs. So they decided to make a documentary about the two North American teams with Cloud9 and was it Team Liquid? Uh,
Uh,
TSM. I can't believe I forgot.
I actually don't
Um,
remember either.
but I know it's very specifically following Cloud9 because Jack was involved, the owner of Cloud9, and he had a lot of say what was going on. But like I had nothing to do with storyboarding or dialogue or anything like that. But I was just there helping the equipment crew who worked for ESL. They were the EU team of ESL, and so I was just helping the equipment handling. Like I mean, we moved to different locations. We helped set up the lighting, all the stuff that I did for ESL in their studio, outside of the community management stuff. Because at ESL at the time we had double roles, sometimes triple roles. So like I was a community manager, which meant I had to do all the content and update the website, and then all the social media content and get the social media up, and then admin the Twitch chat anytime we went live for my games that I ran, plus run the tournament. Plus, if we had a live show, help with the stage handling stuff. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, like I helped with the documentary. I'm like, I didn't do anything creative wise, but I helped with it. But I also don't want to say it because I don't want people to think like I did an entire thing because that's not the case. Like I had nothing to do with the
So
creative content of it.
So wait. I thought I heard you say that you helped clear a path for the cameraman. Yeah, but
Right.
I thought I also heard you say you transported equipment and things like that, right?
Right. Yeah. So like if we're moving locations, so like if we're on the stadium floor and then they want to get shots of the locker rooms, I would help carry the cases if there was like cameras or lights or
You
boom
know,
lights.
I'm always amazed by like why like the things companies ask for, like as far as degree wise, because like what you like the stuff you're describing is still like I would say it is qualifying, like easily qualifying for saying that you are a producer, saying you have some sort of the event or equipment handling management or some sort. I don't know, but like because like when I read some things on like some of the descriptions of resumes is this is the point I'm trying to make is when I read descriptions of resumes, none of it is really hard. It just seems like a lot of stuff and like big words, but none of it is really hard. And what you're like describing, like while it doesn't seem that hard, if you put it down on paper and you put it on a description for like a resume, I guarantee it'll look like a jumbled mess, like a jumbled like a few bullet points, because I feel like that's exactly what resume or job descriptions are. It's just like everything I'm applying to, I'm like, oh, this seems easy. I mean, obviously I haven't gotten the job yet, any of the jobs yet, but I mean, most of the stuff I'm applying to is like this all seems really easy, even though I don't have a college degree, I don't have any of this, but like when I break things down, most of it seems pretty easy, and it's stuff that I could do, and I think that's something that you're kind of doing to yourself with the production things. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems easy, but you did a lot though. I mean, they had you there, and you were a prominent member because I mean, who else is going to handle that equipment? Yeah, someone else can, but it wasn't them. It was you, man.
Right.
I think you should give yourself credit.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's hard to relay that in a text form because it's like
Yeah, I know.
like when because my resume and this is also being in my 30s like there's a company I guess I'll talk about it because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get the job, but I interviewed for Evil Geniuses out in Seattle.
Oh, for the community manager spot?
Yes,
I got that one pulled up on my laptop. I was going to apply for it. Like, I mean,
you should.
I have some community
Totally
managers.
They haven't denied me for it, so I'm pretty sure they haven't hired anyone yet. But apply for it, might as well.
Fair.
But like I was the gal who interviewed me was super nice, but she had my resume up, and I could tell immediately when she was reading my resume that I didn't describe my job enough. Like I didn't sell myself enough because and this has nothing to do with her because hopefully she doesn't hear this, but if like because I could tell that she was like, okay, so yeah, you did, a couple things at BSU, I was like, couple things. Like, and I was like, I freaking ran this varsity department for a state university. And it's like, yeah, when you're at ESL, you were community manager for a couple things. I'm like, couple things? Like,
Did you stand up for yourself though?
No, not in an aggressive fashion.
It's
like,
hard. It's hard, right? Because
Yeah.
you feel like you should like say, oh, they see a couple things. Maybe it is a couple things. It's really not though. I've actually started doing that as like standing up for myself, which I don't know if it's helping. Obviously, again, I'm still unemployed.
Well, but yeah, so it was. I could tell that I'm like, man, I'm not describing my assets very well, because she'd be like, okay, so at ESL, like, tell me about a project you worked on. And I was like, oh, okay, well, first thing I always bring up is the documentary, of course,
Yeah.
because I was on Netflix. I was like,
Awesome.
all work, all play. She's like, oh yeah, and I remember seeing that. It was really cool. I was like, yeah, and another one when I was a community manager, I worked on the Mortal Kombat Pro series for Mortal Kombat X, and I brought up Mortal Kombat on purpose with Evil Geniuses because they were bringing over fighting game players, and so I knew that they would know what Mortal Kombat was. And they're like, "Oh, what tournament was that?" I'm like, "Oh, it was the Mortal Kombat Fatal 8 tournament where we invited the top 8 world players to this, like, quote, secret event, making it themed like Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat's like this invite only type tournament, blah blah blah." She's like, "Oh, cool." She's like, "How'd that do?" And I was like, crap, like, how do I explain this in a resume so that way, like, they have those kind of stats without
Yeah.
just bull pointing a bunch of bullshit, bull crap stats that, like, she wanted to know about it because that's the role of a community manager.
Right.
But like, like, yeah, we were, 600,000 concurrent viewers, peak, 1.2 million. We were trending number 4 on Twitter for the day, in the United States. We had Fred Durst in the audience. We had The Rock tweeting about it. We had Terry Crews tweeting about it. Blah blah blah. Like, how do I explain that in a resume while it's describing my job role?
That is interesting.
Because I was like, I was community manager. I helped with online tournaments and updating the, but how do I throw in those big, awesome numbers without, so it was so hard. It was so frustrating. I'm like, man, how do I word this to, like, sell myself without being that guy that talks for 10 minutes about themselves and 30 seconds in, people tune out.
Yeah, that's something that always weirded me out too, because that's essentially what an interview is, right? You talking about yourself, which I told you I have imposter syndrome. I was like, what am I gonna do? I mean, you have my resume. Why are you asking me this?
Right.
Did you not get that from the cover letter? Like, I wrote specifically. I work with Team Solo Mid. What else do you want from me?
Right. And that was the other thing that was awkward. She's like, okay, so you mentioned ESL. Where on your resume did it say you worked at ESL? And I was like, I don't want to be a dick, but I was like, third paragraph down. And she's like, oh, that says Turtle Entertainment. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, the parent, yeah.
Yeah, like, Turtle Entertainment owns ESL.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And I was like, crap, how many recruiters probably didn't know that? And then here I've been, like, calling it by the proper company, and I should just be putting ESL, but technically it's Turtle Entertainment who employed me. ESL is just the system, so I was like, crap. Like, so many mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, most people do know Turtle Entertainment, so that is one thing that, like, I've noticed that it's not inherent. Like, I've noticed it every now and then, but it's not, like, super rampant. But there are some, like, gatekeepers, like, I mean, recruiters that don't quite understand exactly what the person is being hired for, but they know that it's their job to get candidates that look like they know what they're doing. So I've run into a few of those, and I don't blame any of them for, like, costing me an interview or anything, besides one, and it was for a Collegiate thing, and I was like, obviously I know plenty about Collegiate. I mean, that is my heart of hearts, is Collegiate Esports, and there was some miscommunication between the recruiter and me, and I'm pretty sure that just sacked everything. And it was for a big company. I'm not going to mention it because I actually really like the company.
Right.
But, oh man, it sucked. And that sort of, like you said, that sort of thing can be really frustrating when the gatekeeper doesn't quite grasp everything, because again, they're not even if they're paid to recruit, they're not paid to understand the entireties of, like,
the role,
how
essential you would be, and only if they understood how essential that role is and the type of personality you need for that role. Like, on paper, the best person may not be the best person on paper. It's But I remember when I interviewed for Blizzard, the recruiter definitely was a video game player and definitely understood her stuff. And it was actually really refreshing to have an interview with because I interviewed for a community manager role at Blizzard, and the person who was doing the interview, I could tell, understood the culture, understood it really well. And that interview was probably one of my favorite interviews by far, even though I didn't get the job, and I totally get it. And I was like great, you guys hire great people to begin with. So if you didn't hire me, that means you found someone better, which is great because I'm happy for said department that you guys hired for. But this one was a little weird, and that's kind of what you're saying. But like, I kind of, she kind of got it. But there's some interviews where I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Like, I'm not gonna name the company, but there's a one in Los Angeles that I had about a month ago where I'm just like, this guy really asking me this question? Like, this has nothing to do with esports.
Yeah,
like,
that's
and I'm trying to associate it. I'm like, okay, how can this be related to esports? And I'm trying to understand his this person's question about why he's asking me, but like that's nothing a community manager would ever have to deal with. Like, okay, I'll do my best to answer it and make it as good as I can, but yeah, what the heck?
yeah, no, that's a hardship, and it sucks. I hope it works out for you in the end, though, man. I really do. No matter what you set your mind to, you have quite the credentials behind you. So, I feel like way more than me. My God. So, yeah, man.
I've done a lot, but not a lot with the a lot, if that makes sense. Like, I've done a little of all, if that makes sense. Because you also have to remember too, and I don't have it on my resume, and this got brought up in my most recent interview with Evil Geniuses, because on my resume it doesn't look like I've never managed anything. Community manager, yes. A director of operations, yes. Influencer manager, yes. But nothing, in terms of being a manager over employees. And it's like, my esports resume is way different than my non-esports resume. Like, my non-esports resume, like when I don't have an esports job, like I was a district manager of Sonic Drive-In, so I managed 3 different restaurants and had to have store managers and employees and stuff. So I had to manage all that. And then I don't think there's a Five Guys in Vegas, but there's a Five Guys Burgers out here in Idaho.
Oh, there is.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then I was a store manager of Five Guys as well. And then I was, loss prevention manager for Nordstrom's, and I used to work at Disney and stuff like that. So like, I have these non-esports related jobs that help me with the esports job, but it's like, I can't make a 5-page resume. Like,
right.
I can't. I just can't.
I go through that too, man, because I used to manage a men's warehouse. I was the.
Perfect. Yeah, you get so retail. Yeah. I think if you've been a manager in retail, you are a community manager.
Yeah.
By far, 100%. The best community managers are people who've done customer service, because they understand bridging the gap between the company and the customer, making the customer be number one, making the community show off as much. And men's warehouse, like, I'm throwing an example, but say if you have a new suit comes in, or you have a new buyer come in and it's Armani, and they want their suits to be the best. It's like, okay, then we want to take care of our client.
Yeah, man.
And then you promote Armani to every single customer comes in. And so then, same thing with a community manager. Like, okay, you're community manager of League of Legends. Okay, then you want League of Legends to be the forefront and be up and center as best as possible, with the best content, the best community behind it, best engagement. So it's like, customer service people do not realize how valuable they are as a community manager, in my personal opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Nah, that's totally fair, because it's a lot of honestly, it's a lot of the same thing, just a little bit more physical, kind of. And even when you go to live events, it's almost the exact same thing. For like, so I manage the rental department of of the busiest store in Atlanta, Georgia, and we had to set up booths at what do they call them? It's like these big conventions for brides that have a bunch of different things that go into weddings for like.
I have no idea.
Oh man, I forget what they're called.
I'm calling them bridal showers, but I don't think that's right.
It's not. I mean, because I was thinking too. It's like, it's not right. But it's just
convention.
It's just it's just a big convention hall, and they have various vendors there for food. Oh my gosh, I get to taste a bunch of nice food when I'm there. When I was there, because I mean, I have I have a team with me, and we were just we go in shifts. and every other hour, because that was an 8-hour day. We just had to stand there and like hawk our stuff to bridal parties and try to get them to buy with us, not the competition. But
Right.
while we had some downtime, we'd walk around and try all the samples of food that they were giving vendors, and we were like normally dressed in like nice attire, so it looked like we were getting married or something. Anyways, they had no problem giving us samples. It was lovely. But yeah, no, that's all very valid, because a lot of the work does coincide together, like go hand in hand. And they cross platforms, they cross streams quite a bit. Just one of them is retail, one of them is a little bit more fun in life, and it's called esports.
Right.
So,
yeah, and it's so I googled it. The only word I could think of, bridal show. Ha.
It's bridal show. Yeah,
bridal show, bridal expos, etc. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like and that's kind of how I word things as best I can, because as a community manager, for example, when I was a community manager when I was at HyperX, when the influencer and community manager, my job was to find streamers, Twitch streamers and YouTubers who we potentially could sponsor. And it's not as simple as, example, Ninja. It's not as simple as just contacting someone like Ninja, but like, hey, sell our stuff. Like, there has to be a great collaboration. It has to feel organic as possible.
right.
And so with customers, like, you can't just sell an Armani suit to someone unless you're really good. But like, you have to find that Armani wearer, the guy that's going to wear that suit and going to look good wearing it, and who wants to wear it. And so you just have to, like, you filter through the 2 or 3 people that may come in that you maybe knows, but you're going to find that guy that's going to love Armani, that's going to wear Armani, and it will be a good person who's going to come back and buy it again or buy another one. So same thing when I was at Nordstrom's. Even though I was a loss prevention manager, part of my role was helping sales during like Black Friday sales and Christmas and stuff. Like, they would have us stop watching people who might be stealing and help customers. And so I would sit and watches, because I love watches. And so I would sit with watches and help customers try on different watches, and you just try to build that gap, or bridge that gap, and not make it seem salesy, and just make it seem more organic. And I think that's what community managers do, is you just want to bridge that gap between client versus company. Or best example is the CEO of Razer. I think he's the best community manager for Razer by far, because that dude is online as often as possible, responding to his fans as often as possible.
It's easier when you're a public figure for the company you're working for, like he is. Yeah,
right. But yeah, it's like that kind of mentality of like, I think personally, but it's not feasible. I understand that, but like HyperX kind of does a good job with it as well. Series kind of does as well, where like they respond to people and they retweet people. Monster Gaming is a great example. They retweet people a lot, and they tag people a lot. They respond to people a lot, and so that's just one of the ones. Red Bull Gaming does it too.
Yeah.
Or if you think about companies that just respond the most, it's like that's the kind of community you want to be involved with. But then we think about teams, like, dude, if I tag, like, my favorite sports team is the Los Angeles Kings. I don't recall. I love.
Yeah, you're lost. You're lost in the ether of all the other ones.
Right. Like, they don't. Not that they don't give a crap, but like, they're not responding. They don't care. Like, they don't understand that community side to it. Even though they post great content and there's great stuff for them to have, it's just like, I will have a better chance of getting at least a liked Twitter post by Red Bull Gaming or Monster Gaming or whoever.
Yeah.
Before LA Kings, and that's why I think there's a huge disconnect, and why I love esports versus traditional sports, is because the esports has that community person to appreciate the community.
That's a very good way of looking at it. Yeah, you're totally right on all that. And that is the thing, is that community manager, it seems like on the outside, it seems easy, but man, it is such an essential part of of a company. Just like social media managers seem really easy, but no, it's more than just posting. You do a lot. You run campaigns, you run marketing strategies, and community manager and social media manager kind of go hand in hand. You also cultivate the community and create a fan base, and that's, you see how diehard the fan base of TSM is. And
right.
That's and 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves fans are buying some stupid shirt that has 100 with a black font around it. It's so stupid, but they have the fan base to do it because they've cultivated it through community management and all their social media campaigns. So yeah, very true.
I'm very curious because I don't know. I'm very curious who's on the back end of 100 Thieves because whoever's their marketing person
Jeez.
is a god. Because like, it was one of those things where like it's just I don't know if it's because like they have like the rebelness side to them or whatever it is, but like the 100 Thieves stuff is like killer marketing and killer community. And I do not understand how and why, but it's phenomenal and it's amazing to watch.
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy seeing that sort of thing. Which actually,
Yeah.
today for a job, I had to say which on-brand marketing I like the most, and I actually picked lately. I actually picked Pheqes because they're doing a like a Go Green sort of initiative, which goes with
Right.
their whole scheme and their branding anyway. So I love that.
Right.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. Man,
Yeah.
it's been a great conversation. What so your name's Ryan. Do
Right.
I call you Draven? What is Draven part of your real name?
Yeah, so Draven is my middle name.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I use it as an handle for literally everything. Any game I play,
Yeah.
it's my online handle for Twitch, or it's my online handle for Twitch. It's a little bit for Twitter, but the person Draven is a deactivated account that because Twitter is owned by whoever or whomever.
Yeah.
Like I can't get the actual at Draven for whatever reason. YouTube. I mean, it's just I go off that handle any game that I possibly can, which is good and bad because I have been playing League of Legends recently,
Yeah.
and there's Draven the character in League of Legends, and I get flamed so often for not playing Draven because in League of Legends my username is Draven
Yeah.
or my summoner name is Draven.
But who do
So
you
if
play? Tell me who you play.
so I play Fiddlesticks.
Yeah,
and I
you
play
do.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks and Sona the most. Ash if I need ADC. I'm terrible at Draven. And it's just unfortunate because when that character came out, people are like, "Oh, this fanboy who has the summoner named Draven." It's like this. I've had this account for 5 years prior to Draven even coming out. Like you guys are, And then if I play StarCraft 2, my name in StarCraft 2 is Draven. And so people are like, "Oh, go back to League of Legends." Another trucker, like,
Riot ruined
guys are-
everything.
yeah, it's so I always joke with them like, since you guys stole my name, like, do I get anything for this? And they're like, nope.
Of course
So
not.
sometimes if I find someone who's super gullible, I just say that I don't know if you're going to remember this, but back when Riot was first starting out, they did every single thing they could to get new people to sign up for League. That if you used to have an invite code, and that invite code, if you got 10 people to sign up through, you used to get like a free skin. If you got 20 people to sign up, then you got this. You used to have all these perks.
Yeah.
If you had 10,000 people to sign up, you used to be able. They didn't get 10,000 people to use one invite code, but their thing on Reddit was 10,000, or on their forums was 10,000 people to use your invite code to sign up for League of Legends. Then you were able to design your own champion.
I think
So
I remember that one. I remember that one.
Right. So I jokingly say that like I designed Draven. It's foolish. So if I can find the gullible person that believes it, then that's on them. But every now and again, I would say that, like, "Oh yeah, I'm the guy that designed it," and people trip out. And I'm like, "Yeah, I had 10,000 people use my invite list."
Going back to that radio talk show host we talked about
Right.
earlier.
Oh, 100%.
Just bullshitting people.
Oh, 100%, man. It's so great with the game, and yeah, it's good times.
Man, all right. Let's wind it down from there. It's been really good talking to you. This is a fun fact about anyone listening. It's the first time you and I have actually spoken, and I feel like we've been speaking for years. Like this is really like so when people are on the show, I say I can give you bullet points, but I prefer organic conversations because that's just the kind of guy I am, and I try to get a conversation out of anybody. And man, this was really easy with you. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. And I love, it's kind of going back to my past jobs. I love being front and center. I love being on the camera. I don't need a script. I just tell me what to talk about, and we'll go from there.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. You're a caster. You're a former caster.
Right.
That makes total sense.
Right, but even before that, I just love, there's a couple, when I was at Boise State, a couple times I was on the news, and the person was like kind of giving me direction. And I was like, hey, to be honest, just ask me a question on the fly. I'll give you a better answer if I don't think about it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. That's why I don't script things.
Right, like it's good scripting, like the subject matter or like hitting the bullet points of like, welcome to Boise State, University or Esports Arena, or located XYZ. Today we have, and then kind of going off script. But like I knew you had Teresa Gaffey on, like last week. I've known her for almost 10 years, and I only met her for the first time last year.
You guys know that? I didn't know you knew her. Knew her. I used to work with her in CSL. Like we worked in CSL for years together. Went to numerous live events.
Right. That's how I knew her from coming across, like meeting across her from when I was playing StarCraft 2 a little bit more often.
Oh yeah. CSL was big in StarCraft 2 back in the day.
Right, and they're hopefully will bring it back, but regardless, yeah. So it was cool, like finally coming across her. It's like meeting her. I was like, this is weird. Like we're meeting, but
yeah, she's really freaking cool. It's really awesome just being out and about with her because she's like super New Yorker and has this like thick ass New York accent, and she'll just drop these like New York like curse words, which obviously New York curse words are the same words, but they're spoken in a New York accent, so they're way heftier. It's awesome. So just chilling with her and her being her natural New York Teresa Gaffney person. She's like one of my favorite people to talk to, but she's actually just a genuinely cool and like nice person in general. But yeah, I like, man, when I first met her, I was like, this is so fun. It's just because we were like, it was after an event, we had some drinks and we were just walking like we were like all of our crew was walking down the street and she was just like, I don't even know what she was saying, but it was in a New York accent and it was awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
man.
awesome. Yeah, she's a cool person. Yeah, that's one thing I really love about esports, and I've brought up with like not so much my parents, because thankfully they've been around long enough, or at least watched me in esports long enough to understand it. But when I was at Boise State, talking to high schoolers, or high schooler parents, it's more the high schoolers' parents. I didn't have to convince a high schooler to want to go to college to play esports because they want to play esports. So that was an easy conversation. The parents getting them to play, and I was telling them, most of my friends are online. Most of my friends who I would call a friend, I've never met. I'm like, and that's weird for the parents who are a little bit older, come from a generation of handshakes. This is the generation of online lobbies, and it's it's always fun because coming across people who we've known for 3, 4, 5 years now, known of, been around, seen, but then get to talk. It's like, yeah, it's like, what's up? So that's one thing I really love.
It's different
with esports. Yeah, it's so unique that there's a lot of people on my friends list on Twitter and Facebook where I'm just like, never met this person in real life, but it's cool coming across them. And sometimes it is kind of awkward because people come up to be like, hey, it's blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh hey.
I will fake the shit out of that. If someone comes up and I don't remember them, I'll like, oh my gosh, hey, how's it going? Let's
blah. It happened at a Twitch after party once where this guy came up to me and I felt so bad. I was like, who are you? He's like, it's Wolf. I'm like, bro, who? And he showed me his Twitter. I'm like, holy shit, yes. Hey, like I felt so bad. I didn't know his handle, but I knew him as Jeff. So I was like, oh, dude, yes. Hey, like, what is up? Like, oh my, I felt so bad. But we used to do StarCraft 2 events together. Never met him in person, but it was cool to see him in person randomly.
Yeah, I will BS until and no one will ever know that I do this to them at the moment. They know that I do it, but not to them.
Right.
I will BS until I find out their name, because names come up in conversation, experiences come up in conversation, and I will find out before I ever breach the topic of saying their name. I'll say, hey man, or if it's a woman, or like, what up girl, or something. Just make up the most like just generic greeting ever.
Right. Yeah, when a couple weeks ago, well, actually longer than a couple weeks ago, I took my girlfriend to California for the first time because she's never been. And I told her, I'm like, hey, at Disneyland, there's a lot of Blizzard employees there. There's a lot of Riot employees there. This is going to sound super arrogant, but I do get people to come up to me often when I'm at Disneyland or wherever. And sometimes if I'm wearing like a Team Liquid shirt or my Collegiate gaming jacket, people come up to me right on my Halo shirt. And so if anyone comes up to me and I don't introduce you, it's because I don't know their name and I don't want to be rude to them. So please take the initiative for me, because I'm going to feel like a dick if these guys come up to be like, hey, Draven, see, and I don't remember the name. So thankfully it only happened once. Everyone else I didn't recognize, but it's really bad sometimes where I blank so bad with names. But yeah, I always have to BS my way around it until they mention something and then it triggers their name.
Yeah, that's the life of knowing too many people.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's end it there. I'm going to be frank with you.
Cool.
I'm hungry.
Oh, dude, I'm starving. My girlfriend's cooking. I'm smelling it, so
Oh,
it's all good.
go get some food, man. Yeah, so
I'm
it
gonna
was
get
it
some
was.
food.
Thanks so much for being on. It was really good, man. Like I said, out of people I've never spoken to, one of the easiest conversations I've had. So I appreciate you. Thanks, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. I love podcasts. Like I said, I love talking, love video stuff, any and all stuff. It's especially if we get hot button topics. Like I love it. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm
All right,
excited.
sweet. I'm
I
glad.
appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, more than happy. And yeah, man, good luck in the job search. And if anything, I hope Boise still has a place for you. But if not, either way, good luck, man.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks, man. I'll see you around the interspace there.
Oh, for sure.
See you, man.
But
So yeah, Draven and I have some things in common. We're both quasi unemployed right now, laid off, looking for work. Have a history, have no idea how to flex it, and yeah, just trying, looking for our next opportunity, next step. So good luck to him, and obviously I hope something comes up for me as well. Either way, that's gonna be it for this week. Thank you very much for listening, watching, however you consume this. I don't think I'm gonna do the whole like, share, subscribe thing anymore. I just hope you do, but I mean at the same time, like I kind of feel weird saying it. I kind of feel like I don't know. I don't like saying it. I never have. I think I'm just gonna stop. Either way, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're here next week. Hope you're here Friday. Hope you're here whenever it's convenient for you to consume this. And thank you for doing so. Once again, my name is Joshua Pheqes. You can actually follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Pheqes. That's Pheqes. I will still hawk my Twitter because that's where I interact with people. I'm not going to interact with a like. I'm not going to interact. Well, I do interact with comments actually down below. But yeah, either way, I don't know. I'm in a weird mood. You could probably tell. Might be gone by Friday. Who knows? But either way, this is how I am. It's I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maybe I just got to play some Rainbow Six. I was actually doing really well in that the other day. I think I won like 7 straight, which is phenomenal for me. So I'm pretty stoked on that. Anyways, thank you very much. Have a good day. Be safe. Be healthy. See ya.